I still keep the broken mop handle on my desk, leaning against the corner where I can't ignore it. People think it's a joke, or some kind of motivational artifact. I let them believe that. The truth is simpler. It reminds me of the moment everything we thought we knew fell apart. At the time, I was just an assistant instructor at Kepler 9 Combat Academy. 7 cycles in. Long enough to lose my sense of awe, short enough to still believe the manuals. The academy trained elite candidates from across the Alliance. Draconians with scale armor. Centauri with crushing mandibles. Phalanxians whose reflexes bordered on precognition. Every one of them born to gravity-light worlds and raised to believe they were superior. Then the humans joined. Nobody made a big announcement. They were listed as probationary participants, recently inducted species, limited combat history. Average physiology. No natural weapons. Earth gravity slightly higher than standard, but nothing worth adjusting simulations for. That's what the file said. Most of us didn't even read it. Jack Torres walked into the training hall exactly on time. No armor plating. No visible augmentations. Just a standard uniform and a neutral expression. He stood at the back of the formation, hands clasped behind him, posture relaxed but precise. A few recruits laughed. One openly mocked him. Jack didn't respond. Instructor Vorex entered moments later. 8 feet tall. Plasma-resistant scales. Reputation for breaking students psychologically before they ever touched a weapon. When he walked, claws clicked against the floor like a countdown. Silence followed him. The lecture was routine. Leverage. Balance. Weapon retention. Then Vorex asked for a volunteer. His gaze locked on Jack immediately. Select a training weapon, he ordered. The armory wall slid open, revealing stun batons, shock staffs, reinforced practice blades. Jack walked past all of it. He stopped at the janitorial alcove and pulled out a mop. Laughter exploded across the hall. Jack calmly unscrewed the mop head, leaving only the wooden handle. He tested the weight once, then nodded to himself. A staff is a staff, he said quietly. Vorex stepped forward, clearly irritated. The demonstration was meant to be simple. Disarm the human. Teach the class a lesson. None of us were prepared for what happened next. Vorex instructed Jack to brace himself. The demonstration was weapon retention, not strength. The instructor's job was to overpower the student quickly and cleanly. Vorex reached out, wrapped one massive clawed hand around the mop handle, and pulled. Nothing happened. Jack didn't shift his stance. His boots didn't slide. His grip didn't loosen. Vorex increased pressure slightly, more annoyed than concerned. Still nothing. The scales along his forearm rippled as he applied more force. 60%. 80%. The hall was silent now. No laughter. No whispers. Just the sound of muscles straining. Then the mop handle snapped. The crack echoed through the chamber like a weapon's discharge. Industrial grade would split cleanly in half. Vorex stumbled backward, clutching the broken end, eyes wide in disbelief. Jack remained standing, holding his half of the handle. He turned it slowly, examining the splintered fibers. "Ha," he said. "Guess the wood wasn't as strong as I thought." 23 students froze. Vorex stared at the human as if he'd been struck. For the first time in his career, he didn't speak. "How much force were you using?" Vorex finally asked. Jack thought for a moment. "About 40%, sir. Didn't want to damage equipment or hurt you." That's when the fear set in. 40%. Not adrenaline. Not panic. Control. Jack explained it without pride. Earth's gravity was heavier than Alliance standard. Human bones were denser. Muscles stronger just to move their own bodies. Evolution didn't give them claws or armor. It gave them endurance. Our ancestors hunted by not stopping, he said. We just kept going until the prey couldn't. The information wasn't classified. It was in the human files. We'd ignored it because it didn't look impressive on paper. The class was dismissed early. Vorex left without another word. That night, curriculum review requests flooded administrative channels. Simulation parameters were rewritten. Strength assessments recalibrated. Jack Torres never bragged. Never raised his voice. He trained harder than anyone else and treated every opponent with caution, as if they were dangerous. By graduation, he ranked first overall. The mop handle stayed broken. I took my half home with me. Not as a trophy. As a warning. Because what terrified me wasn't that Jack could break industrial wood with one hand. It was that he hadn't even needed to try. The academy changed after that incident. Not immediately, and not publicly. Institutions rarely admit fear. But the numbers shifted. Injury reports dropped in some areas and spiked in others. Training scenarios were quietly adjusted. Gravity simulations recalibrated upward whenever humans were involved. Jack Torres became something of an anomaly. Not feared openly, not admired loudly. Observed. Watched. Studied. Other recruits stopped mocking him and started giving him space. When paired in exercises, they learned quickly not to underestimate quiet movements or relaxed stances. Vorex requested reassignment 2 cycles later. Officially, it was for health reasons. Unofficially, no one ever saw him demonstrate weapon retention again. Jack graduated top of his class. Offers came fast. Military divisions. Private security. Diplomatic protection details. Turns out, ambassadors sleep better knowing someone capable of tearing steel doors open without panic is standing nearby. Jack chose diplomacy. He doesn't escalate, one envoy told me later. He just ends things. I asked Jack once if the demonstration bothered him. If breaking the mop handle had changed how he saw the academy. He shrugged. Not really. I was more worried I'd get written up for using cleaning equipment. That was the human response in a sentence. Understatement bordering on absurdity. The Alliance reclassified Earth within the year. Not a death world. Something worse. A persistence world. One that produced beings optimized not for dominance, but for survival through refusal to quit. Most species evolved to avoid danger. Humans evolved to endure it. I started paying closer attention after that. Reading files fully. Watching posture instead of claws. Noting how often humans restrain themselves around others. They laughed easily. Socialized readily. Shared food. But beneath it all was something heavy, coiled, and patient. The mop handle on my desk isn't a trophy. It's not nostalgia. It's a reminder of institutional blindness. We looked at a species without natural weapons and assumed weakness. We saw no armor and thought safety. We laughed at what didn't match our expectations. And the only reason the lesson didn't cost lives is because Jack Torres chose restraint. Some nights, when the station lights dim and the halls grow quiet, I think about that crack echoing through the room. About 40%. About what restraint really means. And I wonder what happens the day humans decide they no longer need to hold back. Years later, the story still circulates among instructors, whispered more than told. New recruits hear fragments. A broken mop. A stunned instructor. A human who didn't move. Most assume it's exaggerated. Legends always are. I don't correct them. The truth doesn't need embellishment. Human integration changed Alliance doctrine permanently. Not because humans demanded it, but because reality did. Training academies now include endurance assessments previously considered unnecessary. Gravity adaptation courses are mandatory. Psychological evaluations account for persistence, pain tolerance, and something harder to quantify. Refusal to stop. Jack Torres went on to serve as a diplomatic bodyguard for 12 cycles. No recorded kills. No excessive force reports. But incident logs show a pattern. Conflicts resolved quickly. Threats neutralized efficiently. No escalation beyond necessity. He retired quietly. The mop handle remains on my desk. Every cycle, a new class walks through those halls. New species. New assumptions. Someone always laughs at the humans first. Someone always thinks size equals power. I watch. I wait. Sometimes, I consider telling them the full story. Explaining high-gravity evolution. Dense bones. Endurance hunting. 40%. But lessons learned too easily don't stick. It's better they remember the sound. That crack. That moment when reality asserts itself without warning. Because the galaxy's greatest mistake wasn't underestimating human strength. It was misunderstanding human restraint. They are not dangerous because they enjoy violence. They are dangerous because they can endure it without breaking. Because they adapt quietly. Because they don't announce limits. And because when something finally forces them to stop holding back, the consequences are never localized. So I keep the broken wood where I can see it. Every morning. Every night. Not to remind myself of what humans can do. But of what happens when we mistake quiet for weakness, patience for softness, and restraint for inability. That mistake almost cost us everything. And next time, we might not get a second chance.